Welcome back, future millionaires. Adrian Schermer here with my co-host, Robert Delavan.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Rob. And today we're going to hit on a subject of improving a house, whether it's during the process of purchasing or I think more often, when you already own the property, you want to make an improvement to it. And the often brought up subject of adding an ADU, which is an accessory dwelling unit, or adding space that is sort of mixed use for maybe having an in-law in there, and also touching on accessibility. Everything from those classic railing, what do you call those things? The railing seats that motorized climb up the stairs, all the way through to an actual elevator install in a residential property. What that does to value, and what it costs you to do for an improvement.
So yes, so this is a fun subject, and it actually came up with my general contractor and designer Jen, who works within my company and so on, this morning, and it specifically came up on a house that we're working on to get ready for a sale. It's probably about a 6-month process in that we're taking a early 90s home that's like almost 5,000 square feet in the Portland metro area. And it has multiple floors. It's on a hill. It backs up to a creek and a green space and all sorts of things that make it just absolutely beautiful. But it's late 80s, early 90s finishes that all need to be upgraded. Just to give you some baseline numbers, if we sold it absolutely as is, even in this hot Portland market for you other regional listeners, it would have sold for roughly like 725, 750, something like that in just original condition. It's actually in decent shape. It's only 30 years old, and it's been reasonably well maintained, but it's just, 1992 called and wants its finishes back, right?
Which is surprisingly common in these bigger houses. Actually happens quite a lot, right? 5,000 square foot is a lot to make over. I know when my wife and I were looking at the house recently, I got real excited about high square footage places because I thought, I split this up into a bunch of little rentals. Right. Don't forget, renovation is a per square foot kind of concept. When you really boil it down, it's not exactly, every foot that has to be covered costs money.
Right. And the bigger exactly. The bigger it is, the more hardwood flooring you got to refinish, right? Yeah. Which is a lot for this.
There's a lot of retro mansions out there for sure.
Exactly. So for this particular situation, we were looking at close to a $200,000 renovation. We're right up there. And the question that was asked after we got some bids was, if on the fourth floor, yes, the fourth floor of this home, would it be a good idea to put in basically a not an additional dwelling unit traditionally, which is ADU is the vernacular we use for it, because it's not like a completely closed off separate living rental.
Yeah, let's split that here real quick too. That's really the breaking point. There are a lot of homes that are multi-generational, which is an awesome concept. It's very functional for many families. Grandma can live upstairs and take care of the kids when parents are at work or whatever. It's a functional setup that's worked for really people who've been doing this for a very long time, right?
Right.
Historically. But an ADU has a separate closed door. So ultimately it's a rentable space generally by, right. Local codes tend to allow you to rent that space to someone individually. But if you've got a door between the spaces, even that can't be secured from both sides, at least there's some gray area there sometimes, then it's not. And in this case, right, might not have individual laundry, or it might not have certain amenities that you would expect to be normal, but a kitchen or kitchenette might be up there, sort of a pseudo private living space, but with conjoined, right, the ability to get into each other's space.
Right. So this one, the play here is basically for about $26,000 extra in renovation. And I can break that down for you in a moment. Will it add at least $1 a square, or a dollar for dollar investment in, dollar out from a sale price, and our targeted sale price was in the, just trying to keep it right under $1 million. So would it push it, $26,000 up? Would it push it $50,000 up? Would it push it $100,000 up? The short answer is it's probably closer to dollar for dollar, but it checks a big box where you're opening up a new set of buyers or a bigger buyer pool,
Yeah.
which is somebody who wants to live multi-generational, possibly with some ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, accommodations, in the sense that in this particular house, it's actually served by an elevator. So with very minimal ramping, you could actually get a wheelchair from the garage up 2 steps to the main level, where there's an elevator that goes down to the next 4 or 3 levels below. And the idea is you'd have accommodation for someone who has a physical handicap, or just maybe somebody who's aging in place, like say a grandparent who wants to share some costs, all of that sort of thing, maybe part-time, maybe they're retired elsewhere, all of these different concepts.
The independence of not being in a facility.
Exactly.
And the closeness, the ability to still interact with your family, not just on visiting day.
Exactly. Which is a huge thing. And frankly, there's an element with the pandemic that we're, going through.
Yeah.
That this has become a huge thing, and there just isn't much property that can do that.
Yeah.
So
there are things that you can make your property unique, right, that make it harder to sell. And we see that all the time when people do, especially, let's call them unique styling choices, stuff that's trendy, seems exciting. I think the most recent one is a lot of people are putting strips of wood on wall and painting it, dark colors. That can be polarizing to people. This sort of stuff, though, really opens you up. This is desirable enough. Maybe another example would be, would you say, like shops and garages, especially as you move into heavy metro areas, inner city, you got a shop behind a house and you're in a really dense area.
Yep.
Boy, there's people just waiting for that house to hit market. And I think the ADU and the shared living space, multifamily thing, the demand just exceeds supply, and finding concepts like that where the demand exceeds supply is where you can get more bang for buck, I guess. Let's hear.
Right. Especially considering, hey, we're going to redo this bathroom in this floor anyways. So we might as well do it with a 0 threshold shower, right?
Yeah.
Do it and make sure that the doors are wide enough, which they already are. And of course, this house in particular, and every property is going to be different. We have the benefit of already having probably a $80,000 to $120,000 elevator serving the entire home, versus, like the people that have 2 floors, like my current home, or your current home, Adrian. You see people do the little lift that they advertise on TV.
Yeah.
The kitschy,
yeah.
Hey, grandma can go upstairs, right? I shouldn't make fun, but
no, it's important. I mean, mobility is important, right? I mean, it's make or break. And if you've ever faced this problem, which, Rob, I'm not going to dive into your personal life, but I know you've had to consider ADA access for your home. Yep. It's a deal breaker. There's no, well, maybe we can hoist grandma up. You have to be able to get up and down, and you got to be able to do it quickly. And having, again, this accessibility it's something that you should even consider in design, even if it's not important to you, but you're thinking about, my house is an investment. Single family or single level properties are notably more valuable per square foot, not just because they take up a big space like that and it's nice to not have to walk up and down stairs, but because, again, like you're saying, Rob, it spreads to a much wider audience. It's highly desirable.
So to be specific about the scope of this, basically what we're doing is taking a big bonus room with a bedroom next door and a bathroom, and we're adding a kitchen and a washer dryer on that level. Small, but enough for somebody to have
1 or 2 people
and that sort of thing. So just to give you numbers, we went through, and cabinets were $4,860. We have an exact bid for it. Countertops were $2,500. Those were matching countertops of the beautiful stone that was going to go up in the main kitchen, which is also being renovated. HVAC venting for hood to have a stove in this kitchen, and then for the dryer, for the washer dryer combo is about $1,050. Appliances were priced out at about $6,300. That was fridge, washer dryer, stove, hood, and I believe there's a microwave in that one.
Mhm.
Plumbing was going to be $5,300 for washer and dryer, drains, all of that sort of thing. So that was substantial, but you can't go around that. That's what plumbing was.
There was
And
already a
then
bathroom up there.
yes.
Mhm.
Well, it's the next level down is the drain. So there's ways to get it, but it's a job. Plumbing is not easy, especially when you're going through walls and different floors and that sort of thing. And then electrical was about $6,000 because there was going to end up being a sub panel for that area.
Makes sense.
So all said and done, it was $26,000. And the question became on this home, and I won't publish or say the address or anything like that, but the question became, should we do this? There was one other additional benefit to it above and beyond the concept of just what will it get me on resale is it also, they're doing this first, and the owners are actually moving down there while we completely gut their kitchen, the primary or master
Oh, that's clever.
bedroom, and all of
That's a
that.
really clever way to go
So they're
about it,
moving
isn't it? Yeah.
down, putting most of their furniture in a pod, and then basically going to have the entire house, floors refinished, walls painted, trim redone, bathroom, all finishes redone, a number of bathrooms. And that's where you get close to a $200,000 reno.
Yeah. And I think I got to say that does deserve some pause there, because that is one of the benefits that I think people don't necessarily realize about doing an ADU, or what are you calling this here? It's not an ADU.
I'm calling
it's
it an in-law or family suite.
An in-law suite. Is that does give you that flexibility. If you do have two places in your house that you can prepare food, you now have the ability to refinish that house while you're living there, which is pretty major. If anyone's ever, we've had clients who've tried to redo the kitchen while they're in there. Boy, brutal. The sorrow in their eyes as they tell you about the month delay that caused them, pure chaos, and they're just microwaving burritos and living out of a mini fridge. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
Well, and the other way, just by crunching the numbers, is the other thing that I was talking to the client about with Jen was, okay, so if you had to move into an Airbnb during this time to renovate the whole house, which would speed up the process because the contractors aren't working around you, then what would that cost? And they said, well, if it took 4 months at $3,000 a month, okay.
Yeah.
There's 12 grand of the 26 right there. So it's just it's not a simple decision, but if you consider the cash flow of that, the fact that you're at $1 million or give or take, you're checking off a box for potential buyers, that people that have been looking for an in-law or family suite with some ADA conceptual things in it. It probably only saves you dollar for dollar, or it makes you, $26,000. You put 26 in, you're probably going to get 26 out. It's probably going to take your value from 975 to $1 million, maybe 990 to $1,025,000, something like that. It's not this huge $1 in, $4 out. But in this scenario, it was a no-brainer because it allows them to renovate, still live there, not have extra cost of secondary housing. And then in addition to checking the box of $1 million home, that's the better part of 5,000 square feet. And now we've repositioned 1,000 of that square feet as benefiting a population that was not otherwise going to be served with this property, which would be anybody who has any disability or mobility challenges. So,
so you've got the financial gain, right? The value of the property going up. It sounds like at least dollar for dollar. And then from the back end, especially And this is something we might expand on, but jumbo space is generally more days on market. It's harder to sell
Right.
these homes, just like it's harder to sell. Plenty of luxury products take longer to sell than, and that's what I'm going to call anything that's up in the jumbo space. Luxury product, it
Right.
essentially is. You're paying for something special, which means you got to find someone else who's willing to pay for something special, and you're not in the
Right.
pool with the average first time or family home buyer who's looking for that, $500,000 and down generally space where people want to have a home to raise their family in with an average income in the United States. So
Right.
this does give it some special cases, but it sounds like this makes it more marketable. Someone who's wanting to
Right.
spend that much money, you've got to know your buyer, right? We talk about this a bit, but when I bought my home, you convinced me to do a 4-bedroom instead of a 3-bedroom. I don't need 4 bedrooms, but
Right.
boy, is it going to pay dividends in rent a lot
Oh yeah.
more than that bigger walk-in closet would have. It's the same square footage. I had the option. And,
Right.
these are the little decisions that can have, you know, um, a ripple effect through your finances.
Exactly. And then the last thing I would say we should touch on is in a scenario like this from a lending standpoint,
Mhm.
uh, ADA accessible, some improvements, whether it be the cheap lift, that goes up the stairs
Sure.
or an elevator, different things. And we don't have to dig into specifics. We could probably get very specific with a whole nother episode here,
Yeah.
but what's that look like?
So there are specialty financing products that will allow you to roll that in, and they're actually a lot more flexible than it seems. We talk about renovation or rehab loans. They're out there. There's lots of options. There's a lot to unpack there. But just know that especially for things that improve accessibility to a home, there are special laws that exist that promote lending that allows you to roll it into your purchase in an
Mm,
extremely efficient way.
okay.
And this stuff is getting cheaper. It's going to depend on your area, right? So
Mhm.
there's certain pockets of the country right now, big pockets of the country, where just finding a contractor to do anything is hard, and an elevator can be a big expense depending on what you've got for space, right? You're going to have to. Obviously, you need a footprint that can clear the floors without ruining the
Right.
dynamic of every room.
Right.
But I would say that for the folks that I've had who have looked into this, they were surprised by how cheap it was.
Right.
And how it does seem to, again, add this dollar for dollar value to the home, because there's only so many houses that have elevators. And then,
Right.
that's it. If you want to live on the hillside, Portland has a beautiful hillside with lots of luxury homes. You cannot live in that area if you don't have an elevator. There are no
Right.
single story homes on the hill. That's just not going to
Right.
work. So providing that accessibility can be a huge benefit, especially if the person buying needs it. And then in
Yeah.
terms of from a financial end, doing this in-law suite like you're talking about,
Hmm.
same type of thing. Generally, there's 2 ways we go here. There is financing products that will pay out contractors for work done. But one of my favorite hacks on this is what I think I may go so far, Rob, as to say that this is my favorite financing product of all time outside of the actual home loan itself, is the home equity line of credit.
Right.
Super powerful product. You pull the money only when you need it. So if you got a project that's going to take, heck, even a couple of years to do because you're going to do it in chunks, you're pulling
Right.
the money that you need right when you need it. You're paying the contractors directly. They don't have to pay,
Right.
they don't have to bid you on invoice, which is an important part of many of these rehab and reno loans.
Right.
They're going to pay the contractor 30, 60 days out. You're going to pay that contractor within the bid that they're going to place. They're going to build in the fact that they're not getting paid up front. So these are little hacks, and it all adds up, and then you can refinance if you want to. At the end, if it makes sense, you can refinance as one big package, or if you're going to sell in a short amount of time and refinancing doesn't math out, and you got to run the
Right.
math, by the way.
Right.
Always run the math. Don't make assumptions. I can give you rules of thumb, but at the end of the day, your situation has to be analyzed individually, or you
Right.
are doing yourself
Right.
a disservice. It doesn't take that much time, um, and you just run the math. Then you can roll it in and you can have one big loan at the end, just like you had done a renovation loan, except you didn't have to pay interest on the whole chunk of money quite as soon necessarily. So
Right.
lots of advantages to be had
Yeah.
there. The home equity loan leveraging, though, is such a sweet way to go about it.
It sure is. Okay, well, let's wrap this up. And there's obviously more topics that we could go all day here, but
Yeah.
this is a fun one. As this, maybe we'll do another episode in 6 to 8 months to tell you all how it went,
Yeah.
and what the scenario was, and all of that sort of things, and we'll break down
We'll
numbers
do an
for you.
update.
But these specific examples are fun. So
Yeah.
until next time, appreciate everybody who's listening, and yeah, thank you, Adrian.
Good luck out there. See you next time.
Take care. Bye-bye.